Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, or middle of the night, whenever you happen to run across this video. I'm glad you did, and I'm glad you're joining me here. I have been using a PowerMac G4 mirrored drive door FireWire 800 computer as my primary computer for the last week. Now, full disclosure, some things came up that were more akin to work on a computer, needed to get done well, and needed to get done quickly. The MDD, I am quite sure, could have done the first two of those criteria. The third, probably not. So yes, I did use my Mac Pro some, to be sure. However, it's time now to report on how this machine performed. This fully 18-year-old machine. Can it, in fact, keep up with the modern world of computing? All right. You see it here behind me, along with that pretty amazing 23-inch Apple Cinema display. Sitting on top of the MDD there is a 300 gigabyte external FireWire drive for extra storage. Not that I really need it, but it's there, and can be used to transfer data if necessary. So, I think probably the next thing to do is let's boot it up and get an idea of what it can do. Be right back. One of the things people are always doing with computers is timing startup times. I don't really see why that should be that important. I'm not really concerned if it takes a couple of minutes for a computer to boot up. I'm more concerned with how it runs once it is booted up. But, hey, it's something to check. So, hit the button on the cinema display and off we go. There is our display. And we're up and running. Just a little bit under 47 seconds, which I think is fine. All right, so we'll have a look now at about this Mac. We're running 10.5.8 Leopard, of course. 1 gigahertz PowerPC G4. This is the lowest spec version of the MDD FireWire 800. The other two were both dual processors, both clocked faster. All right. And look at System Profiler. PowerMac G4 with model identifier of PowerMac 3,6. There were just so many. It was almost dizzying how quickly they were releasing different versions of PowerMac G4s. All right. ATA. That's the 500 gigabyte SSD that I've got connected via IDE. and DVD-ROM. Alright. Disk burning. That DVD-ROM is a burner, so you can. Alright. Oh yes, that's the plugged into the FireWire 800 port is that 300 gigabyte hard drive. Graphics and displays. Alright, an NVIDIA GeForce MX card on an AGP slot, and that beautiful Apple Cinema display that we see in front of us here. Okay, memory. All 4 slots are filled with 512 megabytes of RAM. Now, there are no PCI cards currently installed, although there could be. Look at the USB. Oh yes, the hub that's on studio display and on the keyboard. These are 1.1. This computer, you could put a PCI card to give it USB 2, and those all seem to also have some FireWire 400. The thing is, though, FireWire 800 is quite a bit faster than USB 2, so yeah, adding USB 2 just really isn't necessary. There's only the one FireWire 800 port, but you can daisy chain FireWire devices. Okay. All right. Much else to look at. There is an airport card on it. There's an Airport Extreme, and it is currently connected, although I also have Ethernet plugged in. Okay. And I think that's all we really need to look at here in System Profiler. All right. Now, as far as how the machine works, you may remember or want to go back and look at the video about the Dual G5. This machine is set up almost identically. It does have a 10-4 on it that is slightly different. 10-4 versions, you have a different version for different varieties of processor. There's one designed to run on G3s, one on G5s, and we have here the 7450 that's also one on Sawtooth, for example, it's 7400. And that's really quite good. Leopard WebKit is very important, but we'll get to that in a bit as a browser option. You know, we have all of our iLife items in there. NeoOffice, which takes a little while to load up. But, you know, it takes a little while to load up on a modern Mac as well. And once you get it loaded up, and it's still in the process. Come on now. You're making everybody wait. All right. And of course, oops. We can also open spreadsheets, presentations a la PowerPoint. There is a drawing component to this. Do a database, HTML document, although as I pointed out, not all that great. You can make business cards, a
have a variety of templates. It's really a very, very capable office suite. Yeah, it is an older version, of course, that will run on Leopard on a PowerPC, but it works. Now, I don't have Word installed on this, but I do have iWork. So you get Pages on here. You've got Keynote for presentations, Numbers for spreadsheet. Right. I also have the Print Shop, which is a nice little program for making all sorts of things, certificates, greeting cards, you name it. Type and Copy Cloner, which is just very handy. There is a version, an older version, that runs, and it runs well. It's a lot slower than the new one, but then, things being a little slower, if you're going to deal with a machine like this, you just have to get used to that. All right. System preferences. Anything to look into here? Not really. We've already seen about the display. No, not really. Okay, so for your basic productivity, this machine works fine. Once Neo opens up, everything runs very, very quickly on it. If you want something that goes a little bit faster, let's open up Pages here. See if it does in fact load faster. Okay, yes, I've got to say register later. I installed this and yeah, so Pages actually loads up a lot more quickly. You can also, out of Pages, save things in Microsoft Office formats, if there's any need to be sharing with anyone. So that's certainly an option if you don't want to wait through the loading time for Neo. They're both capable programs. I'm used to Neo, and I like that a little bit better. Okay, so really all of this, it works maybe slightly slower than the Dual G5, but it works. Now, the big thing that we check on, YouTube. So we'll open up WebKit here. I did set YouTube as the start page. As that's loading up, one thing I found with the two browsers installed, you can forget about the packaged version of Safari. It's just not going to work. There are things that Leopard WebKit don't open up, does not open up. There are things that 10.4 does not open up, but between the two of them, you can get just about anywhere you need to on the internet, except for Patreon. That's another story. Okay, now in terms of playing a video, we're going to go to one of my videos, of course, because I'm not going to complain to myself over it appearing in one of my other videos. And let's go to that. And here it is. It does take a little bit longer to load up than on the Dual G5. That makes sense.
With you? Welcome. It's
See
good
here,
to
it
be back with
stutters a
you.
little at the beginning.
And I have to tell you, I am as excited about what we have in store today
And you can see at this point,
as I have been for anything.
quiet myself up here. You can see it at this point, it's really playing very, very well. It's very watchable at this point. Now you can pause the video. It's a little tricky to do that, pausing the video. I just realized I'm wearing the same shirt. This was recorded a week ago, and I'm wearing that same shirt today. How about that? Anyway, it's a little tricky because the audio comes on first and you have to wait a little bit to really be able to pause the video, but you can do that, move the slider back to the beginning, and then the whole thing will play from the beginning really very, very acceptably. And this of course is the video where I introduced this particular machine. That's the sawtooth still sitting over there from the previous effort. So yeah, YouTube videos play very, very, very well on this if you're patient. Now, in commercial videos or anything where the creator is monetized, there will be advertisements, and that's a pain because the advertisement also has to load up just like any other video, and you're going to hear the audio to the advertisement for a while before you can skip the ads, and then the actual video has to open up. So yeah, bit of a pain, but manageable. The interspersed ads too, a bit of a pain. They take just as long to load up. You can eventually skip those, and it cuts back to the beginning of the video, much like it did on the G5. On the G5, though, it would get back to where you were a little bit more quickly. Still, you can watch videos and watch them very, very capably. Going to full screen is not going to work, but this is very, very, very watchable indeed. Okay, we can pause that, and we're just going to quit WebKit. All right, I don't know that there's much more to really show you on this machine. I suppose we can look at the startup disks. We'll see the other operating systems. This machine will not boot OS 9. If you want to use OS 9 applications, you have to do so under Classic. Of course, Leopard does not have Classic support. By the time Leopard came out, it really wasn't necessary. Leopard came out, I believe, in 2007. And by then, development had caught up, and there might be a need for some people with some legacy apps to run OS 9. They would have stayed on Tiger because Tiger will run Classic. I do have Tiger on here for very much that purpose. The machine came pre-installed Mac OS 10.2, and I've updated that, of course, to the latest version, Jaguar, and that's really why it will not boot OS 9. Any Macs that came with OS 10.2 pre-installed will only boot into versions of OS 10. That was not true with 10.0 or 10.1. 10.0 was really more of a preview release. 10.1, you couldn't do much more. You had, in order to use those operating systems at all, you had to run Classic. You had to be able to boot into OS 9 because it would run better. With 10.0, well, we may look at 10.0 in a future video, so I'm going to just be quiet about that. All right, so really, I don't need to go into much greater detail, because if you were to look back at the Dual G5 video, this really is much the same, just a little bit slower, but very, very capable. Okay, we'll have some closing thoughts in just a second. Hang in there.
Okay, and now for the verdict. Is a 1 gigahertz Power Mac G4 mirrored drive door Firewire 800, still a usable computer. Now, I think from the results of that last clip, you'd have to say, absolutely it is. And I could, if I needed to, use that as my primary computer. If that were the only computer I had, I could function, and function pretty decently. Would I want to? No. I mean, there's too much that I would miss that's available from modern Macs, but it is still quite a capable machine. Capable, very much so, of holding its own, at the very least, in these modern times. So, there you go. We know we can go at least back to early 2003 and still have Macs that are usable. Alright, now, what's coming up next? A couple of surprises, but the main focus I'm going to have, at least over these next few days, is getting to the Power Mac G3 Blue and White. Got some deliveries, some just today. I have RAM for it, so I can upgrade the RAM, which it sorely needs. I have an SSD, which it certainly needs, and the appropriate adapters to connect it via IDE. So I think we're in good shape. We're in good shape for that. I also have a 2-drive IDE cable, so I think we can at least see if the machine will recognize the 2 drives. I don't think it's going to, but it might. If not, I do have a PCI card that would enable me to connect an SSD to that and would still be able to get dual drives. Well, we'll see where all this leads us. Like I say, a few surprises in there too. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this little adventure. I hope it's been of interest to you, and I hope you can look into the videos that are coming up, because there are some other ones. I do have a video coming up with that deeper look into Mac OS 9 that I had promised a while back. All right, well, take care, and as always, thank you so much for taking the time to have looked at this video and enjoyed it.